Yeah, you know what time it is. Come brawl with them boys of the fall. Covered in gray and scarlet, massive, stiff arms to your jaw. We breaking it. We sick of seeing you clowns with the crown. We taking it. Number one flaws, you don't know ball. We taking advantage of that. Got you Karens asking where the manager at. With no cap, no time for the amateur rap. Look, man, we got dogs all over the depth chart. Monsters on the roster. Straighten up that posture. Rooting out you imposters. Silver bullets in the chamber. And a D-line full of danger. Step back with that linebacker trigger. When he pull it, it'll bang ya. Running backs running downhill. Touchdown on your IG reel. Better check the stats. Buddy, it's straight facts over how you feel. Whenever I speak, I'm giving you more balls than German Village, Short North, and High Street. And you know, the average Joe can do nothing with my flow. It's a waste. Somebody please give his brother an I.O. Come on.
I told y'all before, I need to feel y'all's energy. Stop sitting on y'all hands and get this place lit. Like I said, bring the energy.
Yeah, you know what time it is. I'm raw with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lame. You know what time it is. I'm brawl with them boys of the fall. You know what time it is. On the ground with a nose for the ball. You know what time it is. Blood, sweat, and them tears for this game. Leaving it all out on the field with no fear for you lame. Buckeyes by a billion. We in the building with over 100,000. We represent from the... Man, what's up? We missed y'all. Did you miss us? It feels weird. Listen, obviously we didn't go live last Sunday because of the freaking Super Bowl. Nobody's that dumb. We try to, consider maybe going early or so. It just didn't work out. But it's all good, man. It's a Super Bowl, understandable. But so happy to be back. We got some things to cover we have not had a chance to talk about. Excited about that. And so I'm just glad to be back on the mic, y'all. How y'all doing? Funky, what's up, man? How you been, brother?
What's up, B. Moses? I've been good. I'm 27 days into a national championship, so it still feels like yesterday. I passed the time by rewatching the Rose Bowl highlights and the national championship highlights. I definitely have spent way too much time watching those games over and over again the last really month. But it's been an amazing start to the new year. The Buckeyes football's, it doesn't get much better than being a Buckeye football fan right now. So it shall be a very, very fun offseason. And hey, we can always look forward to running it back and hopefully going back to back next year.
Yeah, man. Listen, bro. You ever see that clip? You ever see that clip on social media where like they're in some type of, I don't know if it's a court or something, but they asked the guy, and how many times? And she's like 100. He says more. 200. He says more. Or something. It's a funny meme. But anyway, the point is that's how many times I've watched the video highlights, bro.
Oh,
listen, I can't get enough of the scoop and score. I can't. You know what I really can't get enough of? Is the Travion Henderson screen pass and the reactions from Sark and the Texas fans. Priceless. To me, that's just as delicious as the freaking Scoop and Sawyer. You feel me? Because it's incredible. It was a backbreaker, unexpected. Oh, we're going to go into the locker room? Nah, bro. You're going to go into the locker room with a 75-yard up your rear end. But anyway.
Personally, my favorite is watching Jeremiah Smith single-handedly beat Oregon. So it seemed like every other play was. And I've been watching not just like the highlights of it, but like people's reactions to it, just like random flight reacts to it and all these other stuff. And like this freshman, he's just every single time where it was 3rd and 4, just hey, throw it down there. What do they say? They say F it. He's there down there somewhere. So
right, F it, throw it up.
Yeah.
Like touchdown.
Yeah. How is he so wide open? We're like the memes of like we're giving the safety a map on that big 45-yard bomb, the JJ Smith for the go up 24 or whatever. Just completely cooked them. There's like, have you seen that like thumbnail, that meme thumbnail where it's like just a bunch of red arrows pointing at him? He's like, where is he going?
You talking about when the guy's hopping up and down, or
no? When when Chip called up that great play where he brought JJ into the slot, and then there's like a deep post, and he was just wide open.
Yeah.
That safety who's, I'm not sure if it's responsibility to guard JJ, but it always gives me a good laugh.
No, we're talking about the same thing. Remember, he was jumping up and down like right there. He was pointing, jumping.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
right, yeah.
yeah, that's the same play. Yeah, that play is still. And I'm gonna touch on that. Remind me, Funk, to mention that as we get into our discussion about these new hires. That's a very key play that goes in
Mhm.
hand with that. Real quick, y'all, I wanted to show y'all check out what I got. I don't know if y'all noticed. I usually do in the ear joints, but check these joints out. So I bought some beats and just copped a little Buckeye skin to put on them, and I'm trying them out for the first time to see how they work through the audio. Sound good to me, man. But I love these joints. Wanted to show you those real quick. But anyway, yeah. So we got a lot to talk about. Again, I'm still riding the high of the national championship. It will never get old. We can walk and chew gum. We can, clown scum fans for their obsession. We can talk about coaching hires and have questions and have debate and still be on cloud nine. We can walk and chew gum, y'all, as a fan base. So yeah, I'm still loving it, y'all. And I'm in my man cave. I got some national championship type stuff headed here, being shipped here to put up on the walls and stuff. So yeah, I'm still glowing, man. For sure. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Stilly Matt. People feeling the beats, I see. Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. But yeah, so listen, let's dive into it. And Funky, who'd you say you want to start out with as far as the new hires
Brian
or promotion?
Hartline.
Brian Hartline. So listen, this one is a very, very interesting one to touch on because both coordinator hires have been kind of lightning rod. A lot of back and forth opinion. But what's your thoughts, bro? What's your thoughts on Hartline getting the full reins of the offensive coordinator position?
I mean, my first thoughts are it was necessary and it was needed. It was seemingly the only thing you possibly can do in that situation because there wasn't a Chip Kelly, a Bill O'Brien waiting to get the job because you can
Yeah.
justify that. You can be like, hey, it's Chip Kelly. If Chip Kelly or if he wants this job, he can get this job. Oh, Bill O'Brien, like multiple time Super Bowl champion, Bill O'Brien, or maybe not Super Bowl or national. Did he win national championships? Whatever. Alabama coordinator, head coach in the NFL. If he wants that offensive coordinator job, he gets it. But in this situation where there really wasn't that Graham slam, it was where Joe Moorhead or some other MAC head coach, or there just wasn't a great option. But that's not me saying I don't think Brian Hartline was a great option. I think he is totally a great option because you just need to keep him on staff. You just need to keep him on staff, and it's the necessary. He's old. He's not some young head coach,
Yeah.
coach anymore. He's old. So if he can't do it now, then he's never going to be able to do it. And I think in this offense, it'll be very beneficial for Brian to be coordinator because you got Julian Sayin, who's clearly the future. I know some people worry about him, but those are just people worrying. No one's seen him play yet, so all we know is that he's a 5-star, number 1 overall quarterback in the composite rankings in his class. Nick Saban wanted him. SFE thought he was the best quarterback in the country. So that's what gives me confidence about Julian. Plus, and we only hear good stuff about him, besides for him being a little laid back and not the greatest leader in the world. But you don't always need that from a quarterback, especially if he's a younger quarterback. It definitely helps if you do have it, but I don't think it's genuinely necessary. And then you have an offense with, J.J. Smith, who's the best wide receiver in the country, and it's not close. Then you have Carnell Tate, who's, maybe the second or third best wide receiver in the country. And then Brandon Innes, who would be the wide receiver number 1 for pretty much any team in the country. And Max Clare, who's the preseason All-American tight end, the Funky had it first, tight end to Ohio State. Cincinnati kid, Travis Kelce 2.0, Sam Laporta. He's going to be a stud. So, and with Brian Hartline has a really good knowledge on the air attack. He was in charge of third down passing attacks in a lot of the passing schemes, even with Chip Kelly, offensive coordinator. So I think in this offense, where clearly our strength is going to be passing, it's going to be good having a pass first guy out there. And this is also going to help with recruiting a lot because you think Chris Henry Jr. is going to want to play for Brian Hartline now that he's calling them plays and he can
Great point.
guarantee him. He's like, hey, I'm not just saying that you're going to get the ball. I'm
Right.
saying I'm going to give you the ball. Like, it's
Right.
going to happen.
Like,
it's not
I'm the guy. Like,
yeah, I'm the guy. I call the plays. I call the shots. So I'm
Right.
telling you right now, you're going to get the ball. Yeah, and someone says, and Mylan Graham. I mean, again, it's an embarrassment of riches. You can also say Quincy Porter, who would be starting at pretty much every single FBS school next year as a true freshman. So I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches. So and if Brian Hartline can't call plays now, then he's never going to be able to call plays. That's the end of the day. That's the moral of the story. If he can't do it now, then he's never going to be able to do it. And I trust him, giving another year of learning under Chip Kelly. I mean, I think I could call plays if you gave me 9 years to learn it over in Ohio State, and I got to learn from what our Urban, or he played for Tressel, right? And he played for Tressel. He played college football, whatever, and he played in the NFL. Chip Kelly, he listened to Chip Kelly. He's a Ryan Day descendant. Like, and Ryan Day is still gonna help him out a lot. So I just don't see how it can be a colossal failure. But then again, that's if Julian Sain sucks, then they're all gonna look bad. That's kind of the moral of the story. And if Julian Sain looks really good, then Brian Hartline's gonna look like a god. So.
Yep. And listen, ascetic ABH, I see you in the chat, bro. You're getting to my point, and this is why I said earlier we're going to touch on that play later when we talk about the coordinators, and this is exactly what I'm talking about. In the Ryan Day interview, Ryan Day recently interviewed with Birmingham and Austin Ward for like an hour long. Okay, he talked about behind the scenes stuff, more in depth of the story, the journey of this team, and he went into detail about Brian Hartline. And he said that play, as they were talking, because everyone thought that was Chip, but Ryan Day said that play, the whole Alabama orbit motion, play that we talked about with J.J. Smith, that was Brian Hartline's brain who came up with that and processed it out and all of that other stuff. So listening to Ryan Day come out since this hire and kind of elaborate and even give more insight into why he hired Hartline gave me way more confidence. I already had confidence just in general because it makes sense to have confidence. Funky just laid out a great argument. He's not a spring chicken. I mean, he has a lot in his tool bag to pull from, and he's been praised already for just his concepts, specifically in the passing game, and just coming up helping out with scheme. I mean, it's just the calling the plays thing is another level, but Ryan Day gushed about Brian Hartline and said he is ready. So I know there's a fear that, we just did that to keep him. I mean, sure, maybe that is conventional wisdom, but when you get a little more insight, I think it's just much more than that. And I'll say this. Some people will say, Ryan Day just saying that. I disagree. Ryan Day just doesn't say anything, in my opinion. And with that said, I'm saying that to say that we've seen Ryan Day fire cats. We've seen Ryan Day flat out just not bend the knee to whoever's agenda. I mean, he will do what he needs to do that helps his program. So I don't see him just saying stuff just to appease Brian Hartline. No, he hired him as co-OC a couple of years ago, and he said, guess what? You're not calling the plays yet. You're not ready. And then he brought Chip in. He's not afraid to step on toes for the betterment of the program. So I never really thought that was really the case. But then you add on this new information of Ryan Day putting it out there publicly, like, yo, Brian is ready. Y'all don't realize how involved he's been, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm excited because, again, if he's truly an up-and-coming, brilliant mind, like we've all been told, how great is it to do it here at Ohio State with Ryan Day? I know some of y'all don't agree, but he's still one of the best offensive minds and play callers in college football. You have him as a safety net to fall back on if you have a tough day. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I'm definitely excited about Brian. And you made a great point about the recruiting aspect, Funk, that I don't think enough people are talking about. Because it's one thing to say, hey, come to Ohio State, and I promise you I'm a go to bat for you to get the ball. Well, you ain't got to go to bat. You the man. So that's powerful. So anyway, great points, Funk. And I just wanted to bring that around for everybody to kind of get a full perspective of why you should be a little more encouraged and positive about Brian Hartline.
Yeah, and also it's hard to continue to convince kids to commit to Ohio State because of a position coach. Like, because you're like, I mean, if I'm just a parent of a kid, I'm like, you're committing to this school, to what, our Texas, because you really like the defensive line coach. It's like, and that's a good reason, but you got to know that that defensive line coach is going to want to move on and progress
Right.
throughout his. If he's so good we think, then he's going to progress. That's just what's going to happen. Like, Brian Hartline isn't just going to be a wide receiver coach for the next 5-6 years. That just was never going to happen. And I'm sure all these or other 5-star kids down the line know that. They're like, hey, like, I mean, these are 2026, 2027 kids I'm talking about. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. It's hard to just continue to convince kids to commit somewhere just because a position coach of a guy who's taking interviews, who's trying to progress his career and stuff. I don't know. That's just stuff to think about for the future. But I think the part of this that people need to really understand, we look at the defensive coordinator hire, just to bring it up. I mean, Matt Patricia, that was on zero people's radars
Right.
for pretty much the whole entire search and up until the last like couple of days of it. But that was, no one was even thinking that. So if you don't think Ryan Day made a call to every single offensive coordinator that you could possibly think of, then I would think you're wrong. He probably made so many calls that, like, that's all he was doing for 24 hours is trying to find the right guy for the offense coordinator job. And he came down to the conclusion that Brian Hartline was the man for the job. So that speaks volume because Ryan Day, Kirk says this all the time, so I don't feel bad bringing it up. But if you remember back in 2022, or was it 2023? The Kyle McCord, yeah, 2023. Sorry, my years are getting jumbled. We threw so much money and tampered with Drake May so much. Ryan Day wanted him so badly. He was willing to pretty much give up anything besides his kids for Drake May that year because he just didn't feel confident in Kyle McCord. And that's just showing what Ryan Day is willing to do to make sure that offense especially is clicking, because he doesn't take mediocrity when play calling, and he especially doesn't take bad quarterback play. So
Right.
if Ryan Day isn't pursuing a quarterback in the transfer portal, that tells me all I need to know about Julian Sayin. And if he trusts Brian Hartline at the play calling, then that tells me all I need to know about Brian Hartline.
Yeah, definitely. And then in addition to that, which is probably a good segue, the hire of Tyler Bowen from Virginia Tech, the O-line coach. With his experience, he has experience. To me, listen, is a really good hire. Okay, let me back up, because I think people, when they're assessing these hires, I don't think they're accounting for the process of it's almost like putting puzzle pieces together, right? Like, what's a good fit? Like, we're bringing this guy in, not because he's some random guy from Virginia Tech. No, we're bringing him in because he's going to work well with Brian Hartline, because Tyler Bowen, he has offensive coordinator experience, number one. So you also have another guy there who can call plays. Then, obviously, he's coach offensive line. But not only that, in the run game, he's really good coordinating the run game. So Hartline is more savvy with the pass game. And then you got Tyler Bowen right there, boom, with the run game. So it's a tandem. It's a think tank tandem of the approach of, game day scheme and preparation and all the other stuff. So you're bringing a guy in who has that experience to kind of help balance out, the strengths and weaknesses. And then, of course, Tyler Bowen is known as a really good recruiter. And I know the outcry from Buckeye Nation about Justin Fry was, he wasn't cutting it recruiting. Well, this guy is known as a really, really savvy recruiter, younger guy, and all that. So, I thought that was a very key and precise. Ryan Day, this is what irritates me sometimes with fans, is that people just fire off and respond without thinking, at least for a moment. Like, okay, do we actually think Coach Ryan Day, who has mostly made really, really, really good hires, do we think he's just firing a dart at the board blindly? I'll take him. No, he's doing his research. He's doing his homework. He's interviewing. He's considering. He's talking to his guys who are, the Urban Meyers and all his coaching buddies who he looks up to, the Belichick, whoever. He is doing his homework, y'all. And so even before we get to the last coordinator, consider that, because I know that's really the hot button with a lot of fans. But Ryan Day is just not out here just randomly hiring people.
Yeah, I mean, and Tyler Bowen was the lead recruiter at Penn State, and then he was one of the top from the rankings on 247. He was the second leading recruiter for Virginia Tech.
Yeah.
And I watched a podcast of Virginia Tech fans while they were talking about him leaving and who they're going to replace him with, and they were really depressed. I mean, I know it's probably not great being a Virginia Tech fan in the first place, but
Right.
I mean, they were really sad. They're like, wow, we've had one of our top coordinators leave to take a downgrade in position to go or they pretty much downgraded his role. I mean, they're like, wow, this is something else. This hasn't happened in like our history, and they're being really depressed about it. They're like, this is, I mean, it's just a sad point of their football careers. But they spoke really highly of Tyler. They're talking about how the kids loved him. Virginia Tech had one of the best run games last year, and they are really making improvements on the O-line in recruiting. So all those are great things, especially just for an offensive line coach too. That's what we got to think of. Like, we got to compare what was he doing compared to what Justin Fry was doing. I mean, Justin Fry was, obviously a great coach. He signed for $1 million plus deal to go to the Cardinals, but he wasn't doing a lot of work in the run game. He wasn't doing a lot of great recruiting, but he was a damn good coach. But so is Tyler Bowen. I mean, Tyler Bowen has showed it time after time. He's clearly has a skill for talent evaluation, and seems to be a little more hip with this new recruiting style that Justin Fry really was. Justin Fry was more of the kind of guy where he would text you and then say, hey, I'm going to text you back. I'm going to text you again in 2 weeks. And he'll text you again in 2 weeks. He wasn't really hip of reposting the Instagrams and tweeting kids and doing all that other extra stuff. But Tyler Bowen is. He's done that stuff everywhere he's gone. He's going to continue doing that stuff. And there's an argument to be made that recruiting now doesn't really matter because it's more just about how much money you have. And it's just a bidding war for these kids. But I still think there's a big personal relationship and that kind of stuff with these kids nowadays. I think at first it was all about NIL, but I think everyone, like Ohio State's going to give you a bag. So I don't think kids are going to care as much in the grand scheme of things about how big the bag they're getting. But who knows? Depends on the kid, really. But yeah.
Yeah, you ended it right. It depends on the kid. I'm hoping things balance out. Just real quick on Fry. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say Fry didn't deserve any criticism, but one thing I noticed about NIL is and I've made this argument, man, like just kind of just observing the process and seeing these kids, how they react, even as recent as David Sanders. To me, so far in this NIL game, the freaking stud O-linemen are the biggest divas out of all of them, even more so than the receivers and DBs. It's the linemen that are demanding so much and that are playing games. I don't know. I'm not going to go into it, but I don't know if y'all heard about that story about the recruit who came on campus to basically play Ohio State to get a higher NIL, and we end up dropping the amount just to say, hey, screw you. Don't try to play us. I mean, word is from the sources that was in a stud O-lineman that was playing those games. So to me, I think the game is kind of wonky with these alignment, especially in NIL. So with that said, I do think, to your point, Funk, that Tyler Bowen's ability to be a little more in the trenches with what these kids want could be helpful in the relationship, aspect, but you still got to deal with the NIL and what some of these kids want, at least O-linemen, and how they've been extra divified with this. It's quite annoying. But anyway, so we can really shift gears to the defensive coordinator hire, which is really the hot button that I've been seeing the most vitriol and pushback on my page, especially Buckeye Sports Talk with B. Moses on Facebook. A lot of debate, a lot of vitriol from fans for the Matt Patricia hire, which I don't understand. And Funk, I'm gonna let you go first on that. I got a lot to say about that, but Yeah, go ahead and dive in, man, and then I'm gonna follow up. But this is the one that not people, but a decent amount of people hate. Actually, before you start, I'm gonna read Bobby Carpenter's quote. This is Bobby Carpenter, who used to play for Matt Patricia at New England. For those Buckeye fans who don't like the hire for whatever reason, I played for Matty P in New England. He's as smart and measured as you'll find. Great communicator and incredibly creative. It didn't work in Detroit as a head coach. Happens to a lot of coordinators, but he's not hired at the head coach position, so don't worry about that. That's Carpenter's thoughts, and I'm gonna get more into detail about that. But go ahead, Funk, if you got some thoughts.
I mean, it's just the one thing that I really fully don't understand are the people that were all on board of promoting Matty G and Tim Walton to be co-defensive coordinators. But I mean, that was we were replacing what 10 starters on the defense, or it's 10 or 9 starters on the defense, so, or is it 8 or whatever? We're returning Sonny, Caleb, and we're returning 3. So we're replacing 8 starters on the defense.
Yeah.
If we mix that plus with losing our defensive coordinator, and we think the best idea is to replace it with a guy whose his best job that he's coordinated at was Indiana, and they went, what was it, 2-10 that year?
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think that would have been a recipe for disaster. That's talk about how we can just get boat ran in the first week of the season versus Texas. I mean, that's how it would happen. And we hire a defensive coordinator who's very inexperienced with a very inexperienced defense, and we go against one of the best play callers in all of college football, and Steve Sarkisian, and probably the best or second best team in the nation next year in the Texas. So, plus we kept all those guys. We kept Tim Walton. We kept Matty G on our staff. I know that was a big worry.
Great.
So we're keeping these guys, and then we add a 3-time Super Bowl champion, a mastermind defensive play caller. So clearly, he had a big stump in the road, but that happens to everybody. That happens in everybody in life, in every profession. Very rarely do you see a guy go out there and just kill it from the start, and then get his head coaching job and kill it at his first head coaching job, and then kill it at his next one, and all of a sudden he's the head coach at Ohio State or Alabama or winning stuff in winning Super Bowls and stuff. I mean, that never happens. You can look at pretty much every single coach to ever coach, and you can be like, wow, he totally failed at this point or whatever. I mean, you had Nick Saban and Bill Belichick on staff of the Cleveland Browns, and they didn't win anything. There was these fantastic staffs in Washington where you had like Matt LaFleur and the 49ers head coach and a bunch of these studs, and you look at what that team's record was, it was like 3-13. So it's like clearly there's some learning to be had between all these guys. So there's going to be big stumps in the road, and for a lot of coaches, and Matt had his with the Lions, and then he hasn't really been able to get his foot back in the door in the NFL because he clearly thinks of himself as an NFL guy. Like, his goal is to get to the NFL. Let's not get it wrong. His goal is to be a defensive coordinator in the NFL. But as we all know, first of all, these owners who hire people for coordinators and head coaching positions are dumb. I genuinely think that. I mean, you can look at the Patriots this year with Mayo. Everyone was like, why did you hire this guy over the Tennessee guy or Mike Vrabel or a bunch of other guys? Because I mean, I think his highest position he ever had was like a linebacker coach, but Kraft hired him, and clearly that was a failure, and they reback and hired Mike Vrabel. But just because Mike Vrabel didn't have a job last year doesn't mean he was some bad head coach, you know? So people are trying to say, oh, Matt Patricia, he was like jobless last year. That must mean he's a bad coach. I mean, that's just wrong. There's only 30 spots. And so when you don't get one of those 30 spots because there's 100 applicants, doesn't mean you're a bad applicant. It just means that fit wasn't right. So he'll be at Ohio State for a year, maybe 2 max, and then he'll be back in the NFL. And just like what Chip Kelly, I mean, you hear Chip Kelly signed for $6 million with the Raiders. $6 million. And literally people were coming at us and at pretty much every Ohio State fan. We're like, oh, Chip Kelly sucks. Just look, he was a head coach in the NFL and then head coach in college. Now he's a coordinator. That seems like he's on a downward trajectory. It's like, no, that's really not how it works. Like, that's really, sometimes you got to take 2 steps back to go 3 steps forward. And that happens in life. That's a life goal. That's a whatever. But yeah, it just, people that are really upset about it, I just don't really understand. Like, there's no good argument for it. Do I think it's going to be like the best hire ever? I mean, probably not. Who knows? I think he's gonna get a lot of hate. I think he's gonna get a lot of hate because I think the defense next year is gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be worse. 100. I'll bet anything on it. It's gonna be worse next year, but it's not gonna be because of the defensive coordinator. It's because we're replacing 8 starters. So he's gonna get a lot of crap next year. But literally, if we can just be a top 15, top 20 defense next year, then we're gonna win. I mean, 10, 11 games in the regular season, which would be a big deal with the schedule we have. So it's just, I don't know. He's gonna get so much hate on. I'm telling you right now, B Moses.
I already know.
There's gonna be such a big reaction after week 1 or whatever. We're gonna lose. We're gonna lose a game or 2 next year. Like, you can guarantee it. Like, that's just probably what's gonna happen. And we're probably gonna have some really bad defensive performances because that's just what happens when you don't have, 15 NFL guys on your team. That's just what's going to happen. We've seen it at Ohio State before. It's probably going to happen again this year when we have just a bunch of young guys. So it'll be what it is. But I think from what Ryan Day could have done, I think it was by far the best hire he could have done in that situation.
Yeah, and you made a lot of good points that I was going to touch on, but I'll just kind of what's the saying? I forget what the saying is. Piggyback. But to your point, Bugsy's daddy, thank you. Some people hate everything in hopes of being right once so they can claim I told you so. We got so many fans like that, y'all. It's ridiculous. So many of them are like that. And here's the confirmation of that. I've already had a few people who disagree with me with the fact that, hey, this is a good hire. And they say, well, keep that same energy after we struggle with Texas. And Funky just brought up the point is like, dude, like, are you serious right now? We're replacing a gajillion starters and we have to play Texas week 1, who is out for blood after having their hearts ripped out. That's not going to be an easy game. So no matter who we hired, even if we kept Jim Knowles, that was going to be a tough game in the shoe with the guys we lost. So you see how they're setting it up. They're so bloodthirsty to say, I told you so, that they're willing to just, put out bogus, stuff like that. It's like, man, chill, man. Like, listen, look, do I think we're going to, fight hard and try to beat Texas at home? Yeah, I think we have a chance to beat them. But I'm not going to judge Matt Patricia off that first game when we're breaking in a bunch of new starters. Man, that's just dumb. So I wanted to lay that out there. But, yeah, also, to your point that you made, Funky, about other coaches, man, listen, not only did they say Chip Kelly was washed up and laughed, even some Buckeye fans, before he came here, as if Coach Day just didn't consider everything. They said the same thing about Knowles as far as not him being washed up, but the criticism, even from some Buckeye fans, was, oh, the Big Ten ain't the Big 12. This ain't going to work. And it's just like, I understand there being some questions and some, okay, all right, I wasn't expecting this, but we got a solid coach, man. Let's see how this works out. Because the first thing I did when we heard Knowles was coming is I start studying him. I start looking up his scheme. I start looking into what he does. You know what I'm saying? Just educating myself. Now, maybe the average fan doesn't do that, but my whole thing is, if you're going to say something with your chest and make all these declarations, at least do some homework and at least think it through. A lot of our fans don't think it through. They just react from emotion. And a lot of what I've been seeing is butthurt Detroit Lions fans who are also Buckeye fans, or Detroit Lions who are also Scum fans. This is where I'm seeing most of the vitriol coming from. And now I got to shout out to two brothers of mine, Keith Stone, if you out there, brother. He's a Lions fan and Buckeyes fan. And my barber, Joaquin Bailey. Lions fan, Buckeye fan. These are the only two cats I've heard that have been able to compartmentalize what they call a disaster in Detroit with him as the head coach, Matt Patricia as the head coach, and things not working out, and being able to separate that from the fact that he's not coming here to be the head coach and run the program. He's coming here for his mind. Coach Day, I forget where the quote was from. I think it was somebody on 11 Warriors, but they talked about he's hiring him for his mind. Now, listen, of course, Matt Patricia is known to be a little rough around the edges, but under Belichick, who's rough around the edges, I mean, what do you expect? Now, here's the other thing I'll say. You'll notice two stark differences between the Lions players, what they think about Matt Patricia, and the Patriots players and what they think about Matt Patricia. I keep saying X, but the Patriots players, they gush over Matty P. They love Matty P. Go watch Julian Edelman's podcast, Bobby Carpenter, read articles. They love Matty P. The Detroit Lions guys, they hate him. Okay, great. But let's not just focus in on, because of Detroit, he was a head coach. That just means his mind for football is gone. His capability of being multiple and understanding how to attack with the personnel that you have. On that Julian Edelman podcast, he talked about how he basically catered the scheme to what the personnel he had. He mentioned Aqib Talib and how he loved him and how the defense changed because of him. Like, Ryan Day knows this. He knows he wants a guy who's a little more flexible with working with the personnel and not being so stuck on the actual scheme that they run. That is Matt Patricia. He knows football more than anybody on this podcast, on this chat, watching. He's a brilliant football mind. I do not believe that he just lost his ability to scheme and game plan and come up with things to shut down guys in the Super Bowl so they can win a ring just because he had a bad stint in Detroit, which was already trash for years before he got there. You feel me? Like, just stop it and go ahead, Funk, so you can jump in. I don't want to get too rolling too much.
Well, sorry. I mean, we have to say this straight up. Let's stop acting like the Detroit Lions aren't and have not always been a total failure of a whole entire franchise. I mean, up until the last 2 seasons, they've been literally a total failure since their existence. I don't think they've made it to the Super Bowl. I mean, it's just like the Browns. Like, I'm a Browns fan, so I'm not gonna blame Baker Mayfield for being a trash quarterback or a horrible quarterback because he didn't have the best success at Cleveland. Because Cleveland, we have a bunch of bigger issues than Baker Mayfield. So it's just when you keep if Matt Patricia would have had a studly career in Detroit, then he would have done something that pretty much no coach has ever done up until that point in the Detroit Lions history. So it's just, I think they're clearly just asking too much, and I don't think he was even ready for the job. But in those two things mixed with you just being a part of the Detroit Lions, it was just asking to be a failure, that's what it ended up being. But you're totally right. I mean, Ryan Day brought him here to coach the defense. He brought him here not to recruit. He brought him here not to be calling kids at whatever, tweeting at kids and being like, "Oh, let's come to be a Buckeyes." No, he came here for 1 or 2 years, and all he's going to do is coach the defense. He's not going to do anything else. It's very NFL style, which I think is what you need to do with your coordinators nowadays. You got to have your offensive coordinator be just dedicated to being the offensive coordinator. Your defensive coordinator need to be just defensive coordinator, and have your position coaches and your 11th, 12th, and 13th coaches be in charge of recruiting these kids. Because that's what you need to do. Nowadays, especially to deal with all these other stuff. But at the end of the day, we got to win football games. And I really do think Ryan Day is setting himself up for a really bright future, especially in the NFL. Because now Ryan Day is going to have connections with, Jim Knowles, Chip Kelly, Matt Patricia, Bill Belichick, Bill O'Brien. He's building his tree. And I think we're going to see it. We're going to look back at this in 10, 15 years and be like, wow, that was really, really smart what Ryan Day did there, where he was, pretty much like this is what Bama did. They brought a bunch of these coaches, and it's pretty much, I saw someone say Ohio State's the new rehab center for coaches. So they're going to get their career back on track, and that's what's going to happen until Ryan Day leaves. So, I mean, I love the hire. People that don't like the hire, I really just like. I don't understand at all. It must just be some form of PTSD that they have from being, again, a
It
Lions
is.
fan or just being social media warriors. It's really easy to jump on the hating bandwagon compared to taking a different opinion compared to like what the cool opinion is. The cool opinion is, oh, Matt Patricia sucks, and oh, Chip Kelly is washed. Oh, and Ryan Day can't win the big game. But in
Right.
reality, like all those opinions were just, I mean, just wrong. So.
Yeah, and look at another example. I mean, shoot, even Sark. I mean, you talking about the whole rehabilitation and look, Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator from the Eagles. He's another example who's been a journeyman. I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now. He's been around the block. He's been fired. He's been rehired. He's been fired. Things didn't work out in Miami. Okay, at his last stint. Now he's a Super Bowl champion with a nasty defense. Like it's just a weird take when you just throw a guy out who had a resume of 2012 ninth ranked defense, 13 10th ranked defense, 14 8th ranked defense with a Super Bowl championship, 2015 10th ranked, 2016 first ranked Super Bowl champs, 2017 fifth ranked. Like the dude has a lot of great, and people try, oh, he was just on Belichick's coattails. No, he wasn't. Like I could see if Belichick was calling the plays or something. Like he was the coach of the defense. He like go back and watch some of his podcasts where he breaks down situations like in the Super Bowl when Malcolm Butler got the interception. He talks about how that was kind of how everything led up to that, how it was schemed and how he knew what was going to happen. And be like, bro, he's a brilliant dude as far as defensive mind, calling plays. He's not here to be the head coach, y'all. And as far as recruiting, somebody mentioned in the chat, how good is he at recruiting? Thing about that is a lot of these coordinators now, they're not going to be out on the trail just being super duper crazy, knock your door down recruiters. Yeah, they'll do their part, but they're not going to be this, oh my God, the number one recruiter in the country. No, he's going to meet with the players when they come, blow them away with his brilliance, show them New England film, and tell them how he's going to use them in our scheme, flash his Super Bowl rings, and do what he does as far as relating to them. So, I mean, that's really the extent. I mean, he'll go out on the road sometimes, but I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the coordinator being such a recruiter like a Hartline was, like that. He's going to do just fine. Knows wasn't out there super duper grinding on the trail. He wasn't. You know what I'm saying? So don't worry about that. And just to be clear, I'm not saying you're worried about that per se. That's kind of me speaking to the question in general because I have gotten a lot of questions about that. But yeah, I'm definitely excited about Matt Patricia and the potential of his mind and being, again, the key point is being able to be multiple. We can still do what we do schematically to where we don't have to revamp our defense, but he'll know how to use guys. Somebody brought up CJ Hicks. He'll know how to use guys in matchups and bring out the best of them. That's what he did in the NFL. And he'll be able to be exotic with our fronts without changing what we do fundamentally. That is very important, y'all. And so Ryan Day and also the other coaches on the staff, we've heard from several sources that they're excited. If the staff is excited, even those who didn't get the job, if they're excited to work with him, why wouldn't you be excited? But it goes back to what Bugsy's daddy said. Love that name, by the way. It goes back to what he said. Some fans just want to be miserable. They're not thinking it through. They just want to I guess, rely on emotion. Maybe they're Lions fans, whatever. The point is think it through a little bit. Like some people just be teeing off just to react. And it's just like, come on, man. I don't know. It annoys me because some fans just always want to be negative. Always.
Really? Fans are negative, B. Moses? You're saying for the whole entire time while we're trying to tell people, hey, it's okay, like, we're still, like, the national title favorites. Oh, yeah, we had this bad game.
Right.
Well, it's fine. We're still the national title favorites. No, the season's over. Ryan Day can't win the big game. Oh, we lose by 1 point at Oregon in a night game because of a really fluky offensive pass interference call. Oh, fire Ryan Day. Well, Will Howard can't do it. Will Howard threw for like 400 yards and like 5 touchdowns. What do you mean he can't do it? Like, oh no, blah blah blah. The line sucks. We can't win with losing all these guys. It's just impossible to win. And then until they finally do it, and then they celebrate with the rest of us. So I mean, there's always going to be those crazies, B Moses, and I mean they're not going to go away ever unless we turn it into the Alabama dynasty and win 4 chips in 7 years, and then
they won't go
finally
away
people.
with that either. Because
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
let us be clear, Funk. I want to be clear about this because people always get this misconstrued. I'm not saying we can't have questions and not agree fully on things, or maybe a little you wait and see. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about those people because, again, we are on social media constantly. I run a large page. I'm a podcaster. I have a front row seat to the takes. I have a front row seat to some of the same people. You feel me? So I'm like sitting back watching all of this. So I'm telling you, there are some who just consistently always want to just lean negative. And a lot of it is just for no reason. It's not logical. It's just when you really break stuff down, it's just like, why are you really upset about this? Like, for real? And then, of course, if you want to push back against that constant negativity, then you're a sunshine pumper and you're all, okay, well, we just want to ship. Just like Funky said, when we try to calm y'all down, like, hold on, man, we still got talent. We still, you know what I mean? Like, let's not abandon ship just yet. We weren't coming from a place of rainbows and Skittles. We were coming from a place of, yo, look what we still got. You know what I mean? So anyway, you are absolutely correct, man. But we're going to see, man. We're going to see. Spring ball's coming up and the spring portal is coming up. And Ryan Day also said that they're going to be in that spring portal. Because remember, we had to run that little gauntlet and we lost some time on recruiting and all the other stuff. So now that this new portal is going to open up, don't be surprised if we bring some other guys in that makes sense. And you got any thoughts on that, Funky, specifically?
So no, I was just laughing because someone said, as long as Funky doesn't do the Humpty dance again, I'm good. Me neither. I don't want to see that again
either. That dance got us flagged, y'all. That's why a lot of y'all couldn't watch the video. They made it private because of the funky dance music, the Digital Underground music got it flagged. So, I mean, it was worth it to me. It was hilarious, but just FYI for those who couldn't find that video. But go ahead, Funk.
Yeah, no, but I just found that funny. And yeah, like Ryan Day said it in an interview. I think it was with like the local news. He said we're going to be extremely active in the second portal because he didn't really feel like he could be fully active in the first portal because they had to do something called winning a national title and play in the Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and the national title game all while the portal was open. So when he means he's going to be active in the portal, he's not just going to cross his fingers and hope, I hope player A enters the portal, I hope player B enters the portal, and I hope player C enters the portal so I can go talk to them and recruit them to Ohio State. Now, Ryan Day knows. Ryan Day knows, and as much as we hate tampering and as much as we can say other teams do it and how much it is annoying and how much people tamper with our team, Oregon, we do it as well because you need to. There's no rules or regulations against it, so we do it just like every other team in America does it. So Ryan Day has been on the phone with agents, and he has an idea who's going to be in the portal. And from what I'm hearing, we're going to be really active, especially on the defensive ends. Thrown out there. I don't have an exact name yet, but I would bet a good amount of money that Ohio State gets a longtime starter on the defensive line during the spring portal. And that's really the only position. That and maybe a veteran cornerback. I would win it everywhere else. I'd be pretty surprised if we went out and actively got someone, but it's gonna happen, and I'm extremely confident on that just by talking to some guys on the team, talking to some of the guys in charge of these NIL spendings, and clearly when you have a lot of conversations with Nevada and Kirk, they have a lot of insights to a lot of different agents and stuff, and the spring portal is gonna be very, very, very busy this year, and you already see it going on. You see kids entering the portal right now. And it's like, what are you doing? How are you entering the portal right now? It's like February. So the portal's closed. So like all these kids posting that they're entering the portal, like they technically can't even talk to coaches until April. So what do you think they're doing? Oh, they're tampering. So, and that's the new reality of college football. And Matt Patricia talked about it on a podcast. I think it was on the Pat McAfee show. It's free agency every single day of the year because kids can pretty much do what they want because there's not really much enforcement going on right now with the transfer portal and NIL. So it's a wild, wild west, and it's gonna make for a very, very interesting spring portal because there's gonna be some quarterbacks out there getting paid bags. I mean, Kyle McCord got offered $4 million from Georgia if you would have got his last year of eligibility granted. So just if Kyle McCord is getting offered that, just imagine any competent quarterbacks going to get offered this year because there's just not many of them. So the ones that are competent are going to be getting offered, absurd amount of money. When I mean that, Quinn Ewers was getting offered $10 million from Oregon. $10 million to go to Oregon. And he said no, but that money is just absurd. So it's going to be an interesting portal because these kids are going to be chasing bags, and that's why we're not going to have a spring practice this year because that decision wasn't just made because of speculation. That decision is made because Ryan Day knows what's happening with his players. So, hey, that's all I can really say on that at this point.
Yeah, and to your point, Ryan Day was on Joe Klatt talking about how there needs to be some parameters. There needs to be actual enforcement.
Mhm.
And so that's the thing with the whole tampering thing is like there's no enforcement with it. So hopefully the reins can be brought in so that everybody can know what rules to play by. Obviously, there's going to be still be rule breakers, but at least there's an enforcement that will hopefully come. And then also speaking of the portal, real quick, Sam Williams-Dixon, the running back from Pickerington, Ohio, I don't know if y'all heard this, he left or he entered the portal and now he's returning. A lot of people have joked to say that means he didn't get any offers, maybe. But to me, I don't care about that. He has good depth in this running back room. He has some experience. I don't think he's trash. I think he's pretty solid. He flashed to me, and he's basically going to be fighting for those third string snaps with Bo Jackson. So good for him and good for us because to me, we needed the good depth, behind Peoples and Donaldson. So that's one thing I wanted to mention about the portal as well. But I agree with you, Funky. I think defensive end is going to be huge. I think Kenyatta Jackson is going to be a stud. I think he needs to improve, against the run a little bit. I believe, and I'm sure he knows that. Caden Curry, I think, has flashed a ton. He's going to be quite good, but we need more depth at that position and even just, some more proven depth as well. So we're not done. We're not done yet. And Ryan Day, that boy looks refreshed. Excuse me. In these interviews, he looks like he just had a ton of sleep. I mean, them bags under his eyes is gone. The rosy cheek assassin is back, y'all. I mean, he looks motivated and confident. He went on record saying, "Hey, I want to be here as long as y'all would have me." And I was concerned after how him and his family was kind of treated, with everything before the playoff run. But he seems energized and he wants to win more ships. He wants to be the first coach since Woody Hayes to win multiple championships here in Ohio State. And I'm not going to bet against him. I'm not. So yeah, bro. You got something to say about that, Funk?
One thing I will say on that is I'm going to call my shot. I think we win it not this year, but next year. I think Ryan wins 2 in 3 years. That I think we have a really great chance to win it this year. And I'm not trying. This is not me being Mr. Negative, but I'm just calling it right now. I think we get. Yeah. I think we knock on the doorstep this year. Final Four. Or that's still a very good accomplishment. Just this is really early on, but I just have a feeling. And then next year with the last year of JJ Smith, the last year of Julian Sayin, I feel like that's the year where we just go on a torturous run of playoffs. Because I think Brandon Innes will come back for a 4th year. Max Clare will be back. A lot of those 3 interior guys will be like 3-year starters. I think Carson Simmons that'd be his 4th year starting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's insane. So it's gonna be a great next couple of years, and Ryan Day knows that too. If Ryan Day thought the ship was sinking, he would be in the NFL right now, like his buddy up north. So,
Right.
so I have to address something too.
Yeah.
Every Super Bowl Sunday, it's the yearly thing where Michigan fans reclaim Tom Brady as their guy and their stuff.
Yeah.
There's the you know who's cheering for Michigan to fail the most probably in the whole entire world? It's one, Tom Brady, two, Jim Harbaugh, and three, Buckeye Scoop. So it's like they try to claim all these guys, but we all know that they're cheering against Michigan every step of the way. I mean, Tom Brady he didn't make a return to Michigan until like 2018. He took a 20-year hiatus away from Michigan to really because just show how much he loved the university. But yeah, that always gives me a giggle because their short-term memory on that stuff is, I mean, insane. And there's no one, and you can't convince me at all that Jim Harbaugh isn't actively rooting against Michigan every single step of the way. I refuse to believe that he would find great happiness in watching his successor and Ward Manuel have success at Michigan because he hated Michigan last year even when he was the head coach because he hated Ward Manuel and he hates him. He showed that by just taking every single piece of Michigan and bringing him with him to the NFL. Because I mean that from the recruiting analyst to the strength coach to any competent coordinator, he literally took everybody. So that just I mean, I'm sorry. I just got to bring that up. It just that always makes me giggle trying to watch them just have this copium of, oh no, they are Michigan men. They still love us. Nah, that's not how it works.
Yeah, nah. Thank you, Jay Moses, my cousin or brother from another, well, maybe, I don't know, same last name. But I appreciate you, man, for the 4.99. Greatly appreciate the support. But yeah, bro, like the whole Tom Brady thing. Listen, I was alive, Funky. I know you're a little younger. I
Mhm.
saw Tom Brady wasn't it. He wasn't it at Scum. He didn't like, oh my God, he was such a beast at Scum, and it was such a great, no, like he didn't become who he became until he went to the league. Like he was cultivated in New England, like period. So I think that the lack of him coming back into the recent years was just that. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't no brotherhood with Tom Brady in Michigan like that. But of course they're gonna they're gonna slob all over him and whatever. But it is what it is. It doesn't
Didn't he?
matter. They're
Didn't he?
idiots.
Wasn't he almost kicked out of Michigan or something about that? Or like just like more of a safety concern because Michigan. Sorry, I really should have asked this off stream, but like, wasn't there a big safety concern of Tom Brady like being on campus because Michigan fans hated him so much and want him gone for whoever the heck?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. Maybe somebody in the chat knows. That's a good question. Hilarious if that's true. Um, uh, B Moses leading the lost Buckeye fans across the river. Let my people go. Yeah, man. I just get frustrated, man. Like, just think, just try to think instead of reacting by emotion. That's all I ask. If we don't agree, it's cool, but some fans just be on one. But anyway, yeah. I'm curious about that Funk. If anybody in the chat got it, let us know. We wrapping up in a few minutes because Kirk and Nevada go at 7:10. But even if y'all don't got it, I'm gonna look it up because I'm curious if that's the case. I mean, I believe it. They're a bunch of hypocritical morons. I mean, that's what they do. They're hypocrites and they're delusional. So I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. Um, and it's funny because I wanted to, they've been trying to push this false narrative. I saw somebody in the chat mention, Michigan still chirping, basically accusing us of not enjoying our natty and talking about them. But again, when we celebrate and post stuff, here they come with 13-10 and with your natty's fraudulent because you lost to us and you didn't win your conference. So we fire back. Like they're trying to make it seem like we're just so obsessed with them. No, you're obsessed with us. We're celebrating and we're just jabbing you back from your goofiness. And that's it. So, but hey, it's all good. Anyway, you got anything to say, Funk, before I respond to this other comment?
Final thing I'll say, we have a $500 wager with
Yes.
Yoder on over under 13 and our players drafted by the Buckeyes in the
Yes.
NFL draft, where 13 is a push, 14 is a win for the good guys, and 12 is a loss for the bad guy or for the loss for the good guys.
I thought 12
So
was a push. I thought Nevada said 12 was a push and 13 was a win.
Well, how much did Michigan have last year? 13?
I think it was 13. I'm gonna look it up real quick. But I thought Nevada said the push was 12.
No, I think the push is 13.
Okay.
Hey, it's my money we're talking about, B Moses. So
Well, that's a whole nother you wouldn't know, I guess. But
yeah, 13. Yeah.
either way, thank you for bringing that up because okay, Studley Bully said 13. 13 was a wash. Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
ain't washing. I'm getting my 500. That's via Zelle. That's where it's coming through. So
Yeah, I mean, bro, like real quick, we still got a couple minutes. Like, do y'all think I was thinking it through, like, yo, like who to me it just seems like easy money. Unless like I know Kirk was nervous about Seth McLaughlin, but I know he's injured, but man, he's the Remington winner. Like, come on, you're not gonna take a flyer on the Remington winner?
B
I don't
Moses,
know.
I've talked to, kid you not, because I've a little bit I've always been very, very confused on when people get drafted and stuff. One, because I just don't think I was very highly educated. 'Cause I would always go into a draft being like, oh, this guy's for sure gonna be a third, fourth round pick, and he ended up being like a 6th round pick. I'm like, what the heck? What did I miss on that? Uh, just by not really looking at the full talent or not looking at the whole draft board or just being a homer in the first place. So this year, I really took it to me to be a very knowledgeable in making a really good prediction of when I think players will be taken. So I've talked to 20 former or current people who work for draft evaluations, combine evaluations, basically people who are trying to do elite mock drafts. That's pretty much what I'm saying. The people that actually know what they're talking about, not just random jibby jabbers. There's only been out of the over 20 people that I've talked to and over the what are the tens and tens of conversations I've had with them, there's only been 3 of them who had less than 15 Ohio State players taken in the draft this year. One of them, guy out of South Carolina, had Jordan Hancock as an undrafted free agent.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I think he has a little bias against Jordan Hancock. That's my personal opinion on that.
Okay.
But another guy said Ty Hamilton wasn't going to get drafted. Because just he didn't like the consistency. He said he doesn't think he had a big motor, and that's what they're kind of looking for. That's just what he said. I don't agree. I don't agree, and other people I talked to didn't agree with that. And the last guy they talked about who possibly couldn't get drafted was Seth because of the injury concerns on his ACL. They need a good or Achilles or sorry, I'm forgetting right now. But they're going to need to see a good medical report back for him to be for sure a lockdown draft. But the average range of players that I saw drafted on Ohio State from what I'm talking to, and they said their guess, the people I asked, their guess was 15. Some of them had 16. A handful had 17, which was and to me absurd. They had G. Scott sneaking into the late 7th round on some mock drafts, with Josh Fryer being an early 7th round guy. I mean, I've seen Josh Fryer from this anywhere between the 5th round and undrafted. So personally, I don't think he gets drafted, but this is just what I'm hearing, and I'm just passing along. So, but I'll be shocked if it's under 15. If it's not 15 exactly, I'd actually very, very, very surprised. Unless something horrible happens, Unless I mean, I don't even want to. I'm not even going to that. But I would say unless something horrible happens.
Nah, I feel you. Yeah, like I said, I thought the bet was dumb, but I'm thinking like, what am I missing? But yeah, I agree, Scoochie. I think G is very on the chopping block. I can see him being picked up, after the draft and maybe making a roster. But yeah, I can't see you losing that bet, man. I'll be shocked if you lose that bet to Yoder. So and make sure if you win it, make sure you let him know. Real quick, CW2. I got the stripe. I hit up Etsy. I hit up Etsy for the stripe. I painted myself and put up the stripe from Etsy. Pretty decent price, but you got to put it up yourself unless you have somebody do it for you. And then real quick, somebody asked early in the chat, how's the video shoot going? So I'm still trying to get everybody's schedule on the same page. Number one, to come together to do the shoot. Number two, here in Columbus, Ohio, we still getting bad weather. We got dumped on. I woke up this morning with snow everywhere and ice and slush. So weather's been a factor as well, but it's going to happen. It's just a matter of time. Wanted to respond to that as well. But yeah, I mean, we can go ahead and wrap, man, unless you got anything else. Of course, there's always something we can touch on, but I think we go ahead, brother.
Just remember who had it first. I mean, no one had Brian Hartline earlier than Nevada Buck did, and Kirk Barton. No one on planet Earth had it earlier as they did. And the sources on that were, I mean, it's funny because me and B Moses were talking about it because I mean, there was some skepticism of would he be the coordinator, and we're like, wow, these other people are saying he's not going to be coordinator, and we've got to be like, well, because we know who the sources were that told Kirk in Nevada, and we're like, wow, I mean, you can't possibly get a better source than that. So we're like, I mean, Nevada probably he nailed this one again, and a few days later, or I think it was even just a few hours later, the news breaks officially, and everyone's like, wow, Nevada Buck nailed that one. So kudos to Nevada and Kirk on nailing that one. I mean, Scoop had it again, and then and they had the Virginia Tech guy 30 minutes before anyone else did, and they had
that was posted on the board before it was released. Yep.
Yeah, and then they had Matt Patricia. At least we knew it was Nevada said it was 99% chance going to happen a few days before it actually officially became happening. So if Scoop had it first, they absolutely nailed that one. It was a super entertaining week on the board. They really just showed out to everyone else that we really proved everybody who has the best sources in the game. So what a great week to be a Scoop member. And I appreciate all y'all watching again. I see very similar faces. Always appreciate it. So make sure you hit that like button. I'm sure most of you are subscribed, but if you're not, hit the subscribe button as well. We're at 36K subscribers, which is, absolutely insane. I remember when we were at like
40K,
15K like a year ago or whatever, or a little over a year ago now. So, but we're approaching 40K. We're approaching the biggest Buckeyes or biggest Ohio State show YouTube channel or whatever, just by the number of subscribers in the whole entire world. So, that's just insane, bigger than any other board, any beat writer. So, just thank you guys for watching. And it's a great day to be a Scoop fan.
Yep, for sure. And as we close out, I'll say, I know Scoop, we got some haters out there. Some of y'all just love to hate Buckeye Scoop, and that's cool. But denying that Scoop has real sources at this point is hilarious and quite stupid. So lovers or haters, that's fine, but you can't deny that Scoop has actual real sources. So we will close out on that. Appreciate y'all. Can't wait to see y'all next Sunday. And go Bucks.
Go Buckeyes.